salutations. Welcome to What Is Good?
Greetings and salutations. I am the Ghoulfather at your service, and welcome to another edition of What Is in the Box. Hello, everyone. And joining me today, the handsome, the abominable Vincent Renfield himself. Hello, Vincent.
Ghoulfather, my friend, how are you?
I am wonderful, doing so much better now. It's been too long.
Much too long. We've been away. Unfortunately, where the Renfields are spending most of our time these days, we don't have any sort of internet service because it's underwater. And so also I have to shout out my good friend who will remain nameless for letting me use his home here, because I have an Apple computer. It doesn't work underwater. Just does not work underwater.
Have you tried calling in for the warranty?
You know what? I would, but a cell phone doesn't work underwater
either. Silly me. Well, they don't let me out too often, so I don't know much about this new technology myself. So, but it's good to have you anyway. Above water, below me, for that matter. But anyway, if any one of you is not aware, this is the one and only Vincent Renfield, the lead singer of and the leader of the Renfields, the greatest horror punk band of all time.
It's true. It's true. Thank you. Yes. And the most underrated. I would say the most underrated. Absolutely. And also the greatest.
And now, Vincent, the Renfields have been going through some big changes. And those who haven't seen, you can see, not only in appearance, but in lineup, in the music, in tentacles. So first, let's talk about imagery. What brought on that?
Yeah, I don't know. So the Renfields are always, we're like a 19-year-old girl at Starbucks making a post on social media. We're forever changing. And that's because number one, because the band is full of crazy people, and we're riddled with chaos, insanity, tragedy, and we're just the Renfields is a different animal as a band, so it takes us longer to do everything.
That's so rare in horror punk, that is strife.
Strife. Oh, that's the thing.
Usually everyone gets along wonderfully.
It's not really internal band strife, though. It's
exterior.
It's more just like each person is their own level of chaotic and crazy, and so working together has been hard. Visual changes. We put out a record in like during the pandemic. I think it was 2020 or something, called the Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk, and that was
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. That ushered in the change. Long story short, member changes aside, which I can fill you in on those too, but imagery, we got a new gimmick, and we were excited about our new gimmick. We thought, we've been doing our old orange and black horror punk gimmick for a while. Let's put that aside and start capitalizing on H.P. Lovecraft, like every other public domain thief has done. So, but something unique in the horror punk genre, I would say. I don't know too many other H.P. Lovecraft eldritch horror themed horror punk bands. Yeah,
I don't know anyone who uses spooky clown ringmaster P.T. Barnum type stuff.
Right. Trendsetters.
Creativity is not dead.
Yeah, so I don't know, that member changes. Anyone who's followed the band, and I know like we have a really confusing history. We're like up to our 15th bass player. We've had a number of members, guitar, drums, back and forth. But member changes at the end of Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk was kind of the close to a chapter, and thus it was for a few Renfields members who are all still brothers and sisters in this. But this has been a band. This has been a live band since 2006. And some people were going on, 10 years, Dr. Herbert being the longest running member.
The fourth or the fifth?
Fourth.
The
yes,
fourth.
The fourth. And he just recently departed the band due to moving really far away. He doesn't live underwater with the rest of us now. He's not in the deep. He moved to Indiana, which is like the deep, the same amount of slime and tentacles, just not underwater. And then also we were bringing in a new guitar player as well. So lots of changes, none based on hatred and insanity this time though. So that's good.
Because I heard that when you made your seminal album Go, that ended beautifully. Everyone was quite happy.
We definitely have everybody that worked on Go, and I agree. That is like our Master of Puppets. That's the record. And I would love to sit here and say that I'm like the mastermind behind everything on that record. I mean, I certainly wrote most of the songs, and was a central figure in that portion of it. But the recording, the production, that was up to a member who was in the band at the time, and it nearly killed him. And hated the record when it came out, love the record now, but it took years because it was just a terribly chaotic time. And but it's one of the Renfields always works like this. It's everything is born out of change and tragedy and whatever, and it always works out for the best. So here we are. Yeah.
Well, who are the new members? Can you reveal?
So I can reveal. See, it depends, because within our current gimmick, everyone is just a faceless, except for me, apparently, and Fiend, our long-suffering bass player. Everyone is a faceless member of the cult of the elder things, not just Cthulhu. We're not we're inclusive to all elder gods. We figure they can all give. If Azathoth can bring us something that maybe Cthulhu can't, we'll.
So we're not monotheist.
Right. No. Why have a plethora of elder things when you only serve one? But in terms of, we're all just faceless cult members, except for me and the Fiend. But we did bring in some people that I think for marketing purposes and gimmickry sake, we're actually going to reveal their identities, because we just brought in someone that I've wanted to play with music with for God, I don't know. The last 15 years. So Rick O'Mortis from Children of October, we coaxed him into joining the band. Although it even required him to, wear the gimmick. And I was like, we're not going to get him, man. I was like, that dude right there, he's not about that. But I think he saw the potential in our partnership. For me, I saw so much potential. As soon as Dr. Herbert, who would never have been replaced ever, his spot was there forever. But as soon as he let us know that he was leaving, there's no question. Fiend and I decided we've got to ask Rick O'Mortis. I wanted to play with him forever.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, he hits hard. He's got more of a punk thrash metal edge than our previous drummer, and that's the direction that we're pushing in. So yeah, so I mean that's the guy. The guitarist is a mysterious individual, and I'll just say that. But someone very someone that lots of people probably would know and recognize if they knew who it was.
So, as you've mentioned already, the latest release, Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk. Now, would we be able to go through I mean, I know there are some skits in this.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for that? I know that in the beginnings of the Renfields, you did skits.
Yeah, when the
Bringing
Renfields
that back.
When the Renfields started, way back, and like I said, I was doing stuff on my own for a long time, one-man band.
Oh, because nobody else wanted to do it.
No one gave a shit. Yeah, nobody wanted to wear this. But when we started as a band, we were doing like Guar on a shoestring budget. For Christmas one year, we fought a giant Santa Claus and ripped his guts out. We fought a robot reindeer called Rudeth. We would fight monsters on stage. So there was always the like theatrical stuff. And then when we brought in, the guys that were there for Go, they were more interested in focusing on the music and getting that up to par, which was one of the best things we ever did. But what happened was pre-COVID, we decided we were going to record a full-length record, and it was going to be called Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk. It was going to be like 14 songs. And so there was a lot of band turmoil even at that time. We went to a studio where our friends, the Jasons, recorded razor blade recordings.
Oh, they have foul mouths.
Oh, yeah, not clean cut like us. Not clean cut like us.
Not family friendly.
No, not at all. I mean that's our forte. They can stay away from that, But we went to razor blade recordings, and then there were some, without going into it, band tensions that required us to sort of record elsewhere. And as we did that, we migrated all the tracks, which was like drums, scratch vocals, a guitar, migrated that over to another studio. And then COVID happened. And we found ourselves coming up on the release date. And like the writing was on the wall. We weren't going to be able to release it. And so it got pushed back a year. And we had all these half-done songs, and that got pushed back a year. And finally, when everything opened up and we were going to go, play our show, our Halloween show, we thought like we want to release it by then. And realistically, we were like, okay, we can get 5 songs done. So the idea came from that. I was like, well, fuck, I don't want to just release 5 songs. How can we make it special? And so I kind of drove around to everyone's house with my computer, recorded the audio just in like, I would go to Dick Ramsey's house and be like, here's your lines, just say them. And then I would go to Dr. Herbert, here's the lines, we wrote them out, he would say them. And then I went home and cut and pasted all of those skits. So I didn't like obviously mix or master the record, but the skits was like, that was all me mixing all the sounds of the handbook. Like when we open the handbook and it's going, whoa, whoa, that's just multiple tracks of me saying, whoa. So that was my big contribution to that record, as far as like trying to make it something more than here's 5 songs. But at the end of the day, my vocals for that record were recorded in my basement on a shitty microphone. So that record, again, as always with Renfield's history, was not what it was supposed to be, but we did the best we could.
I think it sounds wonderful.
The results, we're happy with the results. And we ended up being left with 5 extra songs that were going to be chapter 2, which was going to be called Necronom's Sitcom. And I don't know that that's going to happen now, because we've started rewriting all of those songs as a new band. So we'll see what happens. But
there's something that you're known for. And well, there's many things that you're known for. Yes, that's one. Well, I'm known for that a bit myself. Thanks
true.
to 3D. I do appreciate it. Oh, but I did wanted to share something with you. You remember in the days of horrorpunks.net?
I do, yes.
We're going way back. That is when the first time I made your acquaintance. And I remember the first time I ordered my first copy of Go. I have many now. You'd be shocked.
So many.
How many I have. I don't know why I do that. It's a bit of a order. But this came with it.
Yes.
And I still have it. Do you remember these?
I do.
And these are so rare. This silly little thing.
I can't even tell you how few of those were made.
There are, and do you know what's crazy is I went to see, okay, we're going off on a tangent. I knew this would happen. I went to see the Misfits when they played in New Jersey. And a gentleman, you may know him as Tim. I didn't know him then, but he walked by. He had one of these Renfield patches on his jacket. I didn't know him. And I said, oh, and he's got a Renfields patch. That must be one of the 4 people. So then I eventually got to know him. And yes, he did the same thing. But I won't put this on a vest because I cherish it so much.
And it looks to me like it was cut out of kind of very haphazardly there as well.
Well, this is how I got it, so I thank you for that. You're probably the one who cut it.
It's possible, and that is the thing about the Renfields. You know, as a band, I don't know how we function, because like we released Go in 2012, and then nothing for a long time.
Trust me, I know.
We're playing all these new songs, and that when the songs finally released, everybody knew the words because we'd been playing them so long. I don't know too many. I feel lucky to be in a band that people care enough that they knew the songs before they came out, because like our output is so slow. So it was very cool to know that people still gave a shit and like kept their eyes on us when we were like, you know, doing whatever chaotic, terrible thing it was that we were trying to do to get the record done, you know.
We're getting back. You're well known for your album commentaries, which you've done on almost every album. You've not done one on this album. So I'm known for exclusives. I am. So we're going to attempt to do, albeit a brief, commentary on the album. Are you up for it, Vincent?
I'm up for it. Yeah, because commentaries are no fun when you're by yourself. So yeah.
That's well, very few things are. But before occasionally they are. Occasionally I'm incorrect. So Transylvania High. Can we go a little bit about that one?
Yeah. So I'll tell you this too. So before we start, anybody who's listening to this record, because when this record came out, as we knew that it would, I had a lot of people in the horror punk scene, and we've been in the horror punk scene for many years. This album was our attempt to say goodbye and fuck off.
I noticed that.
We've, you know, being in it, I certainly felt like we could criticize. And, you know, we've chatted about this before. We've been no stranger to saying, like, we went through the horror punk scene, kind of evolved prior to what it is now, but it was a really terrible shithole. And it was a lot like high school. So it was like Mean Girls. And when we came in,
Steffi.
when we came into the horror punk scene, we were not aware that there was this big community of bands, and some of them were super cool, don't get me wrong, and a lot of the people were super cool, but we were coming from Mummies, Lillingtons, Ramones fan base, and we thought, oh, we're so unique because we're playing this music, and then we met a million bands that look like us. So it was strange, but we didn't have the reverence for all of these bands that everybody really felt like we should be like worshiping. And so I think we came in a little resentful, like who the fuck are these people to be expecting us to, you know, like suck their dicks because we don't know who you are. If you're the Mummies or you're the Lillingtons, we will suck away. But like, so we saw this, right? And so this concept record is based on all of our years in the horror punk scene and what we witnessed, what our feelings were, and a little message to other bands. So the concept is, this is not about the Renfields. People asked me, like, there's a lyric on one of the songs that says, I even hung out with the band in 1998. And people are like, who did you hang out with? And I always say, like, no, I didn't hang out with anybody in 1998, but imagine you're flipping stations on a TV and you come across an after school special, and the Renfields are the actors playing a young band who's starting in 2022, and we're playing the roles of the members of that band. I know that's convoluted, and if you want to get more convoluted, at the beginning of the record, you hear channels flipping. There's another project that I was part of that also starts with channels flipping, and that project exists on the same cable network that the Renfields after school special exists in. And the third element is, the question is who's flipping channels, and that will be revealed at some point down the road somewhere.
So, but what about the song itself, Vincent?
Yeah, so the idea is, when you start Transylvania High, we wanted to write a song that was like the theme song to the after school special. And so, of course, with any theme song, you need a nice little melodic lead and a tagline for this after school special. And I settled on it's like reverse Columbine, because at Transylvania everyone's dead inside, not on the outside. So and basically, if you're a young horror punk band and you're just trying to get into the horror punk scene, or at least the one we've experienced, Horror Punks USA is trying to do something very different, and that's cool. So we're not striking out at everyone. This is based on everything we've experienced. But it's kind of like this song was basically our attempt to be like, hey, welcome to horror punk. Get ready. You have to act like everyone else. You have to look like everyone else. You have to worship all of these bands, or else it's going to be a hard time for you. And of course, our unlikely heroes, the Renfields in the story, try to do that throughout the story and then come to their own realization near the end. So yeah, it's really this first track. If you listen to how it's structured, it's a theme song to a sitcom.
Well, I appreciate you saying that about Horror Punks USA, because a number of bands have told us that. Yeah, that we're not about exclusivity, where everyone is welcome. Yes, we focus on horror punk, but we have metal bands, we have bands I'm not sure what they're doing. You know, I mean, we've had industrial band, we're having Cancer Slug is coming up, Carnivore AD. We've had Burlesque, we got in big trouble for that. You know, so really, yes, when they hear the name Horror Punk AD, they say, oh, you must be genre specific and elitist. Someone else said that. But well, honestly, we're not. And thank you so much for noticing.
No, and we did notice. And like, you know, we struggle in the Renfields and other bands because we came through the dark ages. And you know, some people see those as the glory days, and the people that see those as the glory days are bands that have never been able to get off of being that first band on a show, because all they did was supplicate themselves before the great gods of horror punk, and they're stuck being an opening band forever. Because when you come into a scene and there's already this edict that says, all right, well, these guys are the top dogs and you're down here, you never rise above that. And that's the whole deal, was like, every band that comes into the scene, even if you're playing with my band, even if you're playing with a different band that I'm in, whatever, you don't need to come in and be like, oh, I'm playing with legends, you guys are, you need to be like, let's blow these old motherfuckers, fuck these guys, let's blow them off the stage, who the fuck are they? But the fear is, I want to be accepted so much. Let me just worship these bands, and that's not a punk rock approach. That's a high school approach when you meet the quarterback and you want to be his best friend. Which is why on this record we switched to dressing like high school students, because we were like, well, everyone acts like it's fucking high school. Let's just go ahead and dress the part. You know?
Something you told me a long time ago that I never forgot is you said as soon as the Renfields knew, I think it was 3 songs, you started playing live shows. Yeah. And you've said there are other bands that quote unquote are more talented than you are, that have been playing for 10 years. They've never played a show because they're waiting for everything to be perfect. Yeah. And that's not punk rock. Oh, pardon me. And your advice has helped me, because I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. But you know, occasionally Ronan would tell me, all right, you're going to do this. And I say, well, I can't do that. And here I am. Sure. You're one of my idols who I love so much. Right. So which brings us to one of my favorite tracks on the album, Scene Club.
Yeah, and I should mention too, I want to give credit where credit.
I love that track.
This track specifically is a reference to a Screeching Weasel song called Cool Kids. I don't know if if you're familiar with that, but
I've heard of that gentleman, Mr. Weasel.
Oh, Mr. Weasel, he's my favorite.
And I know he is.
This voice that I use as far as like the way that I sing the first of this, sometimes I feel like I went too hard on it, but I was really, really pushing hard to be Ben Weasel, like to specifically homage Ben Weasel. But
oh, you can definitely hear it.
Yeah, it was almost like, because at this point it's like we're in the middle of what is like, it's almost like theater, you know. I mean, it's punk rock, but it's not a rock opera, but it's like that kind of thing. So I felt like I could be kabuki-ish with my voice and try to go intense Ben Weasel. Same thing with I think in this song, or it could be no, I'm sorry, it's Handbook, where it's say mutual admiration comes from Danzig imitation. If
Danzig,
I were just singing it,
and you do the Danzig voice.
yeah. If I were just singing it, like as a song, I wouldn't have done that. But I thought, well, it's like fucking theater at this point,
Well,
But
the Renfields have always been theatrical.
yeah, and
Absolutely.
we always wanted it to be a satire or a parody of a horror punk band. So why not? Because I thought that's where I felt like this record would be cool, because there's lots of horror punk records, and we're always trying to find our little unique place, And in this record, we thought, well, nobody's written other than we chatted about Johnny B. Morbid, and before this record, no one other than this song that he did. And I love that dude, by the way. But
I love Johnny B.
Morbid. Had done a record about the genre or the scene of horror punk.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we thought we could, it was like, that's our different take. It's not a horror punk record. It's a record about horror punk. And it's really like a pop punk record, sort of, But so this song, the just as the story progresses, it's Vinren, our main guy there, lamenting,
our protagonist.
He's just lamenting about the fact that he doesn't fit in, and they notice the coolest guy in high school standing over there, and he's surrounded. He's like, the coolest. He's the Fonzie, which ended up being portrayed by Bloodhawk von Wannenstein, who was our old guitar player. And that name is a reference to it's essentially, it's a reference to Shadow Windhawk. And I know people thought, oh, you got beef with Shadow Windhawk. Our approach has always been, we don't really have beef with anyone, even though the rumor is there's a Blitz Kid beef, dude. Like, we really don't, other than just the fact that, we recognize how fucking ridiculous it all is. And let's be honest, Shadow Windhawk is a fucking ridiculous name, just like Vincent Renfield. But it's not like a pick on Shadow Windhawk as much as it's just like, how fucking crazy and ridiculous are these names in horror punk? So we figured Bloodhawk, and then what's the most horror punk name ever? Vaughn. So we're like, this guy's got two Vaughns. He's so horror punk. He's got two Vaughns. And so yeah, it's a subtle reference to Shadow Windhawk, but only in terms of just like in horror punk, our names are completely fucking ridiculous. So, and to me, Shadow Windhawk is a ridiculous name.
He certainly is spooky, though.
Yeah.
He
so
sure
I mean,
spooky. I remember a wise man told me one time that a grown man dressed up in a costume, trying to be scary, is just silly. That you have to, very important to always be self-aware. Now, you can have a creepy persona.
Yeah.
Elvira has a creepy persona, and she's done very well with it. I remember the early stages of the Renfields, you told me that there's all of these men dressing up as monsters trying to be scary, but we are monsters, but we're nice. Yeah. We don't know that we're scary. And I thought, oh, this is brilliant.
Yeah, and another thing with our intent on this record was we've been pushing hard for hey, we're a satire of horror punk. We don't take it seriously. And I swear, and I think it's because a lot of our songs have a very serious tone. Some of them, not on this record as much, but a lot of our songs are pretty serious and they take the subject matter serious. But people a lot of times still didn't get it. A lot of people were they still thought we were trying to be scary Doyle Wolfgang von Frankensteins. And I'm not comfortable. If I were fucking jacked, maybe I would be. But so a lot of this record was all right, it was too subtle before. Let's hit everybody over the fucking head with it. And so that's why Bloodhawk von Wannenstein is a name no one can ever take serious. And we also figured let's throw out some little jabs at other bands. And there are jabs at bands on here that are our pals too. But it's whoever gets offended, they're going to out themselves as taking their shit way too seriously and they're going to look silly. And the ones that have came out of the woodwork, and I'll say Windhawk is not one of them, maybe because he didn't listen, which is, those guys ended up looking like clowns to me. Because I had a member of a band who actually said that through a mutual friend of ours, well, they wrote this record about my band. And I was like, you tell that dude that there's one half mention of this guy's band name on this record. And I was like, that's his ego making him think that every band is writing records about him. And I was like, man, this record is about me. It's about our band. It's about your band. It's about the genre of horror punk. Like, if it's really, really not a beef record, it's a like, hey, like we're all part of this scene and it's pretty fucking dorky, but it's also fun. And so yeah, man, it's I think when we recorded it, when we released this track, I had a lot of people that I hadn't heard from in like 5, 6, 7 years being like, hey man, what's with that record, man? I just heard your record. Sounds cool, man. Who's that about? And I was just like, okay, like everybody wants to know. But I mean, really, like it's not really like a beef record. I have beef with the whole fucking bullshit scene, but it's not about anybody. So I don't know.
Which brings us, of course, to perhaps the most well-known track on the record, Handbook. So yeah, that's another. Oh, I keep saying it. That's another favorite of mine.
Yeah, that's my favorite on this.
That's a fun one live. That's a fun live track.
And this is the concept for this record started with after Renfields shows, we would always chat about like, hey, did you see that guy? Like his band had a guy with skull makeup and an X on their forehead, so he gets a horror punk point. That guy had a devil lock, he gets a horror punk point. You know, that band said go in their song, they get a horror punk point. And the idea was like, there's got to be a book somewhere that tells you all the rules and you can add up your points. And so that was the concept for the whole like handbook thing. And it was started as a joke between us and like a million other bands, like 52 Ways, bands like Black Cat Attack. We would all joke about like, oh, how many horror punk points did I get? You know? And so for these first 3 songs, me and our old guitar player, Dick, who produced Go and who I wrote a lot of songs, we wrote those songs together. And basically the skeletons for those songs happened with me and Dick in his house after he had quit the band. And so a lot of these songs go back that far, to like 2012. We're talking like right after he quit the band, he and I were hanging out writing these songs. And so that's how long it took for us to get here. But yeah, man, Handbook was like, we had to have a villain for the story. And we wanted to defeat the Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk as a sign of like, yo, we're done with the orange and black. We're done with the pumpkin makeup. We're done with the werewolf. Moving on. And so that's why the record was called Versus the Handbook for the Recently Horror Punk. It's like an homage to Army of Darkness. And yeah, so this song's just about the Handbook, and there's a lot of fucking references to a lot of bands. And again, not all of the bands that I reference in there are bands that I have beef with, or bands that I'm certainly picking on all of them, but it's, you know, it's not necessarily
clean tomfoolery.
Yeah. I mean, there were lines on there that I heard that made me cringe internally. Like I heard someone once in the horror punk say like, oh man, this is like our whole scene is like the Monster Squad, but the monsters are the members. And that stuck with me. So I put that in there. And you know, there's the references to Shine the Signal by the Big Bad, who we did have a little thing with, but by the time that came out, I think we were all good. And again, like this is not like stuff that like we haven't talked about. Like we've been very vocal about our issues with the horror punk. I was talking to dude in the Big Bad, Zach, at one point. We were talking about the horror punk scene on the phone, and like he said like, oh, that guy's my friend, man, blah blah blah. And I said, dude, and this was back in the day, I said, nobody in this fucking scene is your friend. Nobody is your friend, man. They're only your friend until your band goes like a notch above theirs, and then they're your fucking enemy, you know? So, yeah, so that was like, for me, it was just like, I wanted to put as many references as I could to as many horror punk bands that we had played with. And I felt like I could do that because I'm part of the scene, and that's the best place to criticize. I mean, I'm making fun of devil locks. I had a devil lock for years. I'm making fun of bone gloves and contacts. And drinking pumpkin spice latte. I've done all of these things. I loved all of these
Not
things.
pumpkin spice latte.
Right.
Oh no! Next thing you know, you'll be wearing the banana Crocs.
Yeah, well,
I hope not.
Should I reveal that? I guess not.
I prefer.
I don't want to ruin my scene points here.
Oh, but I do have to mention one thing. Little Gothy Boo wanted to make sure that I said hello, and she wanted me to say Wiener.
Thank you.
I suppose you understand what that means.
I've been wienered for the day. Yes.
Is that a reference to the genitals?
Strangely enough, no.
Oh my. Oh,
so I'll tell you.
It's the first time that she hasn't referenced genitals.
Well, this is universal to everyone, and I'll just say, like, this is how this wiener thing came about. It's universal even in horror punk. Never, no matter how old you are, no matter what your race, color, creed, gender, the word wiener is never not funny. And I'll tell you what to do. Go to your dad or your mom, no matter how old they are, walk in and be like, hey, dad. And then pause and then go, wiener. And watch what happens. They will laugh. It doesn't matter. Mother Teresa would laugh because wiener's always funny.
I heard Mother Teresa had a good sense of humor.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's true. That's the rumor.
Yeah, we'll have to dig her up and see.
Find out. She was a hell of a nun, that one. Hell of a nun.
She was uber nun. I mean, essentially.
She was good. If anyone would know about her, Sithis von Hammerfuck.
Ah, yes.
Well versed in nuns.
Well versed in nuns.
Hammerfuck. He's always. I've had enough of him and his yogurt. So we come to Circle of Fakes, which has one of my favorite lines in it.
What's that?
That's away. Oh, we should be one, not 138.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that line. So tell me a little bit about Circle of Fakes.
Yeah. It was really like at the point when I wrote that, like it was based on all the stuff I'd seen. Like I said, man, because people like these bands, and I like a lot of bands in the scene. 52 Ways is my favorite. But a lot of people that don't know the bands behind the scenes, that don't work with the bands, that haven't been booked on shows with the bands, they just imagine that like it's just this thing, like this harmonious scene. And like I've said a million times, not always with this face on, but it's a scene at Buttercup, which is it's cohesive on the outside and corrosive on the inside. Always has been. And I've seen the worst and I've seen the best of it, right? The best is the people, the worst is usually the bands. Not all of them. And like I said, not always the ones you would think that I'm talking about. But the idea of this song was at the end of every after school special, there's got to be like a message, there's got to be a nice message.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we should be one, not 138. I thought was just happened to be poetic. I've tried to put a bunch of Danzig references, like November's Coming Fire didn't even make a spark, and there was a reference to stamping it on a t-shirt and tattooing it
on your arm,
which side you're on. Yeah, so it was just like I guess it's sort of a cynical take on it, but it's an informed cynical take, and it's not about everybody. But I just used to see so many I've seen a lot of bad, man. I've seen a lot of bad from the horror punk scene, and not all scenes are as bad. I hate to say that. I want to say like every scene is like that, but man, they're not all that bad. But what happens is horror punk is tiny, or it was, and like it was centered around a few bands, a few individuals, and anything that tiny has trouble feeling like anything more than a click. So this song was kind of our goodbye to that scene, even though obviously we're stuck in it. So I don't know. So that was just
never letting you out.
No, I mean, it's like,
so
again, when Rick joined the Renfields, we sent him all the songs for the new record, and he was like, yo, I just listened to the lyrics for this EP. He's like, how do you guys still get booked? We were like, I don't know, but
it's not.
I think it's because it's changed a lot. A lot of the people who were at the center are no longer at the center, and I don't know, maybe people don't take it so seriously anymore, but I mean, we have fucking tentacles. Can we really be talking too much seriousness here? I don't know.
All right, Vincent. Ha. Sometimes I just like to be a bit over the top. As we come to our last track, and you're dressed for the occasion. I Was a Teenage Cthulhu Cultist.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Well, so this song started out as a song called Dr. Butcher MD. And it was supposed to be on Stalk and Slash Splatterama Part 2. Yeah. And the story behind it is I wrote a song that required blast beats and death metal vocals. And Dr. Herbert, not being a fan of heavier music, was like, I'm not doing blast beats. And I was like, well, if you don't do blast beats, I can't do those vocals. And so we put it on the shelf. But I liked the riff, the da 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 da, that fucking shit. And I was proud of that riff because I don't normally write riffs like that, you know? And so then I started thinking like, all right, let me fuck around with this. And I came up with that title. I Was a Teenage Cthulhu Cultist. It's kind of something dorky. And I wanted to, all the elder gods have really ridiculous names. And I was like, I want to try to name as many elder gods in this lyrics. And so it just took us that long to get the song out that miraculously, by the time the song was ready to be recorded, we had manifested and became like, that became our gimmick. And that was never of the plan. Like we weren't planning on doing that when that song was written. But by the time we got here, we had already switched our gimmicks to this Cthulhu Lovecraft thing. And so all of a sudden it made sense to make that the last record because it's a preview of what's to come. And I will say, like, on the next record, which was, like I said, was going to be called Necronom Sitcom, and it was going to be 5 songs. It'll probably end up being a full length.
I think that's a great name, by the way.
I know. And we have the cover, we have everything for it, but with the fact that Herbie's gone, and let's face it, like, things are never going to be the same without him. He was my my counterpoint. He was the guy that I talked to in between songs. We kind of made up that back and forth, and that's going to change in terms of how stage banter happens. It's going to change in terms of, obviously the Renfields are never not going to be a comedy sort of gig, right? But not having Herbie to talk to in between songs changes a lot. And so in my opinion, it doesn't make sense to do chapter 2 of the Handbook because Herbie's not there. Now those songs will continue and there's new songs that we're working on, but everything going forward is more, we've lots of songs about this gimmick and this concept. So less horror movie songs, unless they're Lovecraftian, and more just like digging into the occult, digging into lots of all the great fucking, you know, H.P. Lovecraft inspired fiction that's out there. There's so many other authors that expanded on some of the really basic ideas. You know, Lovecraft was never the dude to put lots of detail in. So all these other authors can come and flesh it out. And so going forward, we just wanted a preview of what the band was going to be. And that really is it. Like, we've just like, our stage show is going to be completely different going forward. We've already kind of been doing it live, but there's just going to be more of that. And so we just wanted a preview. The big rant that I do at the end of that song is verbatim from an episode of Night Gallery. I can't remember the title, but this guy summons the elder gods to his classroom. He's like a professor. And I just did it in one take as much as I could. And then I lost my breath, and that's really me just like going cross-eyed at the end and not being able to finish it. So,
well, Dr. Herbert was always the one who kept Vincent in line.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting with his presence not there to see what happens.
It's definitely going to be interesting. Like, we didn't, when we got our new drummer, I told him, I was like, I don't want you're not going to be the new doctor. Like, that character, like, he earned his own character death. And at the same time, quite honestly, that was not the direction that it felt right to go in anyways. Like, we were going in a different direction. And so with him gone, it just kind of solidified, like, okay, we're okay to go in this new direction. We've also, and this might bum some people out, like, Lucio, our werewolf, is gone. And that
Now,
was like,
is that going to be a comic book death? Where he winds up coming back?
It might. Well, we killed off Lucio at our last show. He knew he was dying. Now the man inside, as what are our boys run the jewels, the man behind the man behind the man behind the throne, that guy, he is still around and will be, but in the form of some other elder things still to come, which, you know, we'll see what happens for Halloween. Right now, quite honestly, we're playing this show with
we're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay, well, yeah, when we get there. But yeah, so a lot has changed, and I know that I'm going on like a long tangent, but this song was to
you're known for your tangents, but that's what
true.
Everyone enjoys.
That's true.
Myself as well.
Yeah. So the song was like, this is where we're going, and obviously we're here already.
So cool. I love that tentacle. I got to grab that in Pittsburgh, if anyone doesn't know, and it is quite rubbery.
It is, yeah.
So okay, so now we're getting a full length. That's what she said. That's what I always say to Tatiana on a Saturday night. Get ready for the full length. Brace yourself. And so instead of an EP, so that's what's coming up next for the Renfields, is a full length album.
Yes, we froze for a second, but I think you asked what's next for the Renfields.
As far as recorded material.
Yeah. So unfortunately, so we had, all these songs recorded that would have been just needed to be finished, just needed final vocals and another guitar. But with the members of the band having changed, we changed guitarists, we changed drummer. I don't want to represent the old band on the new stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna put out a new Renfields record with those songs. We've already started with the new members that we have. We got more heavy and more shreddy and more dual guitar leads. And so I was like, we need to open these songs up and leave room for more instrumental stuff and room for maybe some people to fight some monsters during the show. So we're just tearing everything apart, even like Hand of Glory, which is the song that we've been opening with. Mm-hmm. The show that we're playing upcoming is going to be kind of our last time to play that in that form. And then we're like ripping it apart and changing it. And so, yeah, like it's interesting. There's like a big sort of change happening, and hopefully it'll be in place by Halloween. That's always the time for us. We'll see.
That's a busy month for you.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've been talking about it. So the next show, the next time we can expect to see the Renfields live will be at Hellaware, brought to you by Horror Punks USA, August 27th at Bar 13.
Yeah.
So, and we've got quite a lineup there as well, which I don't have in front of me, and boy, am I going to get in trouble for that. But so you'll be headlining, and it will be all the new gimmick. A lot of the new songs, not the new songs, but the new songs from this record. And I do have some old ones as well.
Oh yeah. We kind of know there's certain songs we're never not gonna be able to play. And,
right.
We're specifically going to do some Slumber Party Massacre action because I heard maybe there's going to be some pillows.
There may be some pillows.
And we got in trouble, man. We played Horror Hound and we brought like 50 pillows and people were throwing them at glass chandeliers. But man, there's nothing more fun than a pillow fight in a mosh pit. So if you're coming to that Hellaware Fest, you need to bring your fucking pillow and bring your fucking pajamas if you want to. Yeah, plenty of old stuff. The Machete Go-Go's of the world, Last Man on Earth, plenty of that stuff. New gimmick as is currently evolving, but I don't know, man. I feel like this will be like, if in some ways, if you really want to see maybe what would be like the last show that kind of ushers out a lot of the stuff we've done in the past, this would be a good one to come to. And I don't know, man. I feel like these are people that it's kind of like people that probably are aware of the Renfields and will appreciate some of the stuff we're going to do.
Renfields fans, I've noticed this. Renfields fans are very loyal.
Yeah, man.
So they're very loyal. So all of you, I'll say it again. August 17th, Bar 13, the Renfields, the final transition. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Till our next gimmick.
A transition that as they evolve into their new form.
Yeah.
But you've always been involved in.
Yeah, man.
You really have. You know, if you look back at even some of the earliest recordings, there's different versions of Machete A Go out there, Machete A Go out there, and I have all of them. I'm completely obsessed. If you
yeah.
But I did want to ask. Well, you know what? This popped into my head while we're having this conversation. If you had to pick 3 classic Renfield songs, that if you were doing a show 20 years from now, if we're all still alive, and what would those 3 songs be that just could absolutely wouldn't be a Renfield show without them? I know what they'd be in my head.
I want to know yours too. Mine are.
I'm not going to tell you. I want you to go first.
Okay, so mine would be it has to be Machete A Go, which honestly, when we play that now, I'm like, this is the wrong band playing this song right now.
It's awesome.
I have connections to another band that should be playing that song, but regardless,
that's a good point.
That song, for me, it's Burning Revenge, because that was a high watermark for me when I wrote the riff to that, because I was like, oh, I just wrote a non Ramones ripoff. And then it would probably be Prom Night, but we don't play Prom Night live now.
You
so
don't
I don't
play Prom Night live, no.
And that was kind of the one that like a lot of, back when we were really like a new-ish, a lot of people latched onto. We just don't play that one very much. It's our Saturday night, right? I mean, every horror punk band has to have a Saturday night.
They all do.
Yeah.
So mine would be, in case you're interested.
I am very interested.
Mine would be, as you already know, Machete A Go.
Yeah,
I know, but I want to ask you something about that. But let me finish this. Halloween Night.
Yeah.
Halloween Night. I love that track. Well, you've seen me in the pit when that track comes on. Yeah. I don't think I have to tell you. I get a little exuberant. Oh dear. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah.
Because that is an absolute, and again, I think it's underrated. And I know you brought it back.
Yeah.
Which I'm thrilled about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that is an underrated track. But I did want to say, I'm going to say his name wrong. Janie Lane, is that the dude from Warrant?
Yeah.
Janie Lane. Okay. He hated the song Cherry Pie.
Yeah.
He hated it. And I watched him in an interview. He was saying, I'm in cherry pie contests. I'm the cherry pie guy. I could shoot myself in the face.
Right.
Do you ever feel that way about songs like Machete A Go, or in some of the other bands you may or may not be in, being associated with a certain track? Does it ever get to be like, I just don't want to play that song anymore?
No,
Okay.
never ever felt that. Like, I think what happens is with Janie Lane, I think, and I've heard a little bit about that song. I feel like that was almost a song that was kind of forced on that band.
Yes, it was. Right.
You know, and so I can understand being resentful of that. What I don't understand is being resentful of the song that you wrote, unless maybe it doesn't represent who you are. But like, you see a lot of bands that are very popular and they get bitter about playing their most popular song.
Yes.
Michael Graves was that guy back in, and I don't know about bitter is the word, but I know like back when I would play like acoustic shows and with Michael Graves, and the Renfields played with Michael Graves. And there was like definitely a time in that dude's career where like he was kind of like, I don't want to wear the makeup. I don't want, and it's like, this is why you're fucking here, you know? Like, so I don't understand that. And I get artistic integrity, and you got like a new record and you want to like play that record and support that and you're pumped. But when somebody goes fucking apeshit to a song that you wrote, you should just be glad, you know? But I never feel that way.
Though. That has to be fun seeing the crowd light up to Machete A Go.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I never get tired of playing that song ever. I just, it's always weird for me now because we have such a very like diverse, different types of songs in the Renfields, which I guess at the end is kind of what we're all about anyway, you know, is like having songs that don't necessarily all sound the same. But I'm just happy. Like when you said Halloween Night, is your favorite song. Halloween Night is not on the set list, and I'm like, I want to play that for you. I don't know if we can pull it off, but
I think you should.
Like I want to be that person that plays the songs people want to hear, and I'm proud of everyone.
Too that you get more set time.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I can make that happen.
Yeah, I'll ask. We have a practice coming up. It's really up to the new guys, because but then again, let's be honest. If you can play Slumber Party Massacre, you can play Halloween Night, because they're literally the same chords and the same tune and the same song.
Are they?
Yeah, listen to them back to back. I mean, they're very much in that Ramones. So check this out. So like you can go like HADDON FIELD, let's go, right, and then you can also fucking go Slumber Party.
Okay.
Same fucking time. Yeah, it's a mind fuck, because I was writing in that Ramones pocket there. So you know.
Well, you tell them that if they can play Slumber Party Massacre, they can certainly play Halloween Night, and everyone will enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, Vincent, I've got one more for you.
Yeah.
I'm excited about. What do you think is the strangest thing that's ever happened at a Renfield show?
It's the strangest thing that ever happened at a Renfield show. Man, I've been lucky enough not to have any like weird bad things happen. Strange things, man, I honestly can't even think of anything that like stands out, because I guess Renfield's shows are like really strange anyway. But yeah, man, other than just seeing like our werewolf dancing and his like balls falling out of his little shorts, or
I do love the shorts.
Yeah, man.
I'll miss them most of all, the orange shorts.
I know, man. I love those orange shorts too. And you know, you never know, there may be an elder god that comes back wearing some little shorty shorts.
Oh, like that would be fantastic.
Yeah, man. I can't really. Oh, no. Okay, it's on the commentary, but I will say it's not the strangest thing, but it's my favorite thing. And if you haven't watched the commentary, I'll give you the brief version. So back in the day when we were playing with a band called Cryptorchid Chipmunk, who I hated, they were a ska band, and they were this eclectic, terrible version of ska. Now, friends with some of those dudes, respect to what they did. Personally, I hated it. And a lot of us hated it. And they were like our nemesis, like they're our arch nemesis band in the scene, because they were a gimmick band, but their gimmick was like Jackass before Jackass. Like they would eat cigarette butts and drink their own pee and barf on one another. And it was just like, it was lovely. It was that kind of deal. And so we played a show with them. We were in the bathroom getting ready. They were performing, and their guy, one of their members, came walking into the bathroom sweaty, naked, except for he had a fish with its mouth open, an artificial fish.
Oh, I remember this story now. Yes. Okay.
Yes. The fish was on his penis, and it was duct taped to his body. And so he walks in, and our werewolf, who did nothing at the time musically, he did a lot, you know, energetically, but he really did nothing other than wear a kilt and dance and be a werewolf, is gluing her to his face and looking in the mirror. And this guy comes in, and he's super positive, and he's in a sweet band now, by the way, called Dissidente. So he ended up being in an amazing band. But this guy comes in, and like, he's just like, hey guys, how's it going? You know, and everything's fine. Me and Dr. Herbert are getting ready. And then our werewolf, just without looking at the dude, continues looking in the mirror and goes, you know, if your band didn't suck so much, you wouldn't have to have that stupid gimmick. And the dude kind of like laughs, and he's like, yeah. And he's like, wait, are you kidding me? And the guy's like, no, man, your band fucking sucks. This is our werewolf saying this to the fish dick guy. Your band fucking sucks. And he never looks at the guy. He's just gluing it. And the guy goes, man, I kind of want to kick your ass right now. And this werewolf dude that we had at the time didn't look back at him. He just kept gluing the shit on his face. And he goes, that would be a mistake. Most badass thing I've ever seen. And the dude was like, yo, fuck you. And he like walks out. Me and Dr. Herbert were like, we're witnessing a dude with a fish on his dick and a man in a kilt gluing werewolf fur to his face, arguing about if your band didn't suck, you wouldn't need a gimmick. And it was astounding, the lack of insight that the parties involved had at that point. But yeah, that was the weirdest thing that happened. And then of course,
that's pretty weird.
Yeah, we had to go make up with the other band, and like everything was fine and nobody fought. But yeah, man, it was absurd. It was just as absurd as me sitting here with a tentacle on my hand. It was just as absurd.
The salient question, though.
Yeah.
What happened to the fish?
Hopefully it filed a police report, man. I don't know.
Well, it could have been a consenting fish. We don't know.
I didn't understand until we became deep ones and lived under in the depths of Dagon's dark ocean that, you know, fish do need to give consent. So I don't know.
Well, Vincent, I want to thank you so much for joining us and giving us a little bit of insight on the past, the present, of course, the future. I hope you'll all join us. I'll say it again, as the promotion to that I am. August 27th, Bar 13, the Renfields. Message Vincent, tell him you want to hear Halloween Night. If enough people do it, he'll play it. I'm telling you. He's a pushover. So thank you again, Vincent. And we're looking forward to seeing you then. Any final words?
Bring your pillows.
Bring your pillows. Don't forget, we may have treats for people who bring pillows. I've been known to give treats. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you there. We may be freaks, but we are not alone.